Greetings, Arborbrook, and welcome tonight. We have our special guest with us tonight to talk about facilities at Arborbrook. Before us on this Zoom call that we're recording are two of our board members who also function on the facilities team within the board. First, we have Rex Noble. Rex is the chair of the school board and has been on the school board for 8 years, and he serves on the facilities committee. And then Yolanda Baker also serves on our school board. This is her 4th year in the school board and serves as the facilities chair for the school board. And she's affectionately known as Wonder Woman around these parts because she does a lot of great things for this school. We felt like it was really important to present an update. So we're going to have a conversation, the three of us, and wanted to share that conversation with all of you as important stakeholders, as community members, as people at Arborbrook who may have questions about facility and the plans. So I have some questions, but before I get there, very first thing I want to find out from the two of you, just a question in general. Why do you serve on the school board at Arborbrook? So Rex, if I can put you on the spot, can I ask you to go first and just tell us, why do you serve on the school board?
Sure, Andy. It's been a pleasure to serve on the school board for the last 8 years. My family's been a part of Arborbrook since day one. We were not one of the founding 4 families, but we were one of the original families that have been at Arborbrook since the beginning. All 3 of my children have now graduated from Arborbrook. And so I have a passion for serving, and I also have a passion for giving back to God's community. And if you've heard me talk before, I usually say without fail that it's God's school, not our school. And so it's a way to give back to God's school, because I think what we're doing is very special. And for those of you that have been around for a while, I think you know just how special what we do is to the community, not only our community, Arborbrook, but to the greater community in the area. So that's why I serve.
That's great, Rex. Thank you. Yolanda, I want to put you on the spot too. Why? What's the why for you?
You know, my why is probably a little bit more personal. About 8 years ago, we were relocated here to the Charlotte area, and for about a year or so, we wondered with our boys. We tried a school, we did homeschool, and we really found ourselves in a place where we really were leaning on God to lead us for education for our children, for our 3 sons, and even us as a couple. And I truly believe God led us right to Arborbrook. It turns out Arborbrook was 2 miles up the road from our house, and we had missed it every time. And I can truly say that Arborbrook has ministered. The mission of Arborbrook has ministered to our family, not just to our 3 sons that at Arborbrook for years, but also to us as a husband and wife and a couple. And I think when you find a place that can minister you in the hard times and the good times and all times, that you found something good, and all things good come from the Lord. So that's my why, whether or not it's facilities or having sub before or whatever. My heart has just been at Arborbrook. Our family's heart has just been planted at Arborbrook. So that's our why.
Yeah, thank you both. Yolanda, you've not only been a sub, but you actually taught Bible for our upper school, our high school students. And I know my own girls had you in class and tremendously impacted by you. And both of your investment in the school. Rex's wife teaches 6th grade, and we know that you both have been given a lot. So it's good to hear the why. Arborbrook is a very special community, and I'm very privileged to lead it. So we want to talk about facilities tonight because there are just a lot of questions out there, and I have a few of them here I want to ask. So very first one is to you, Rex. Before COVID hit last year, we had presented pictures and plans to build a school building. And I think a lot of people are wondering, are those plans on hold? Has COVID killed those plans? Are those plans still alive? Can you give us an update as to what's happening with regard to a building of a school?
Great. Thanks, Andy. That's a great question. And I can understand why some people might wonder what's actually happening and what's happened in the last year. So we, as we were looking and going down the path, the COVID thing hit, and we really said, we need to hit the pause button. And so we felt like, from a stewardship of the school, not knowing how everything would turn out, not knowing what finances would look like going forward, and not knowing how everything would be affected, we really just hit the pause button. And we did it in conjunction with the church. It wasn't something where we hid something from them. And I feel like I have a great relationship with the church leadership. And we were in communication with them related to all of this. And as we've come through the end of the 2020 school year into 2021, we said, there's a lot of stuff going on, but this is God's school, and He's blessed us. And we now think, okay, it's time to pick up the pace again and start looking at the whole purchase and building on this property. And so all of that takes time, and we have some hurdles to go over related to different things. So we want to look at some immediate plans and some long-term plans, but we are picking back up, and it's picking up speed. So it is on our mind. That is one of the board's main functions, is facilities, and we are on it. We've gone down several paths that's led to dead ends, but this one just feels different. And I feel like we're collaborating well with those involved. And so I feel very encouraged about where we are, but I feel also very, I want to make sure that we continue the momentum, and we have some hurdles to overcome for the school year, for the next school year.
Yeah, that's well said. I think parallel paths have always been something that we've talked about doing. We have long-term plans, but we have more short-term plans. So Yolanda, can you speak to some of those more short-term plans, like for next school year? What are we planning to do? What is on the board's mind as far as what comes next to meet the needs for our students for this next school year?
So I will just say the Lord has just continued to go before us, even in a pandemic. As Rex said, as we came into the end of 2020, we all of a sudden kind of felt that a little bit of relief to start picking up the pace again and start down the pursuit process of building on the property here. And, you know, the Lord never fails. I made one phone call to a modular company, and lo and behold, they had a modular there. They have a couple that are, you know, kind of in stock or on their way, you know, to the location. And I really think that a short-term goal could be to place a modular on the property. That way it would give you, Andy, you know, and your staff and students and families some space for growth, some space to kind of expand some of the programs that we have currently today. So we are going to pursue the modular process with the town of Wesley Chapel and Union County, but at the same time, we are going down, you know, parallel paths. We say that all the time, parallel paths to continue down the path to actually build our own building. And the good thing is you need the modular for temporary space if you're building. So they kind of go hand in hand. So that's our short-term goal, is to look at bringing a modular on site.
Yeah, so that just brings up a lot of questions, Yolanda, because I know the history. We've tried this years ago and we kind of hit a dead end with that process. So what's changed? Is there anything that would be different now to tell our families? Because they, you know, we don't want to just go down and hit another dead end, but what have you figured out in this process that might be helpful to families know that this could really be an option for us come even fall of 2021?
Yeah, you know, I do this for a day job, right? Facilities management and construction. And one of the things that we talk about in my day job is doing your due diligence and really understanding when we may have gotten, pushback or may not have got complete buy-in in the past from the town around a modular. There's a reason why, and it's not always we just don't want it. There's always a reason why. So we've actually, just followed God's call to listen to our town leaders and to hear what concerns might be around a modular. And we've worked hand in hand and keeping them updated of the progress that we've been making on our end. And we've been patient also as they've been going through, the pandemic themselves as a town and having to adjust. And I believe it's due to the partnership and just open communication. They've got a great planning team there that has listened to us, sat across the table from us with ourselves, our partner that we're going to use on this project. We've even had church leadership at the table. And I really think that that's helped push the process along and have everyone more open to having a modular on site, and also long-term being able to build on site. So we're going to go through the process like, anyone would, but I do believe that we've been patient in the process, but at the same time, doing the right due diligence in a collaborative manner, wanting to be a really good community partner for Wesley Chapeltown, and hearing what those concerns are and addressing those through the team that we have in place. So I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm so encouraged. Like, I know when we reached out to the town at the beginning of this year, they just were so open, got on a Zoom call with us, and we've been able to just talk through those things around the modular.
Yeah, and your enthusiasm is contagious for sure. Yeah, Rex,
Yeah,
sorry.
and Andy, I would just want to make sure that related to Yolanda's point is that in the past, when we pursued modulars, that was really our long-term focus. And that, I think that's a key. We have a long-term focus to build bricks and mortar that really look and upgrade the view.
Exactly.
And in the past, we said we want a modular, and there was really no long-term focus other than the modular. And I think that's helped the dialogue as well.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Yeah. And that's been part of the listening, right, Rex? I mean, we heard that feedback, and I really think about, maybe that was through the town, God saying to us, think bigger. Like, think bigger. I can do immeasurably more, right? And it may take a little longer, but to Rex's point, we were really focused on modular, not really thinking about the master plan of, what our long-term solution could be. So
yeah, and we really thought that, hey, we can just hide a modular in the back. That wasn't flying.
No.
So as to Yolanda's point, listening to God and saying, what's your real long-term plan? And that's really helped us.
That's great. So I want to circle back to a comment made earlier, but any chance, Yolanda, do you feel comfortable mentioning what size modular or what we might be looking at? Can I get more information from you?
I'll tell you, let's just say square footage, right? Because I think when people, unless you know modulars, if I say sixplex, some people may know, but on average, a sixplex is about 6,000. We're looking at about 6,000 square feet, in modular space, which is like triple, I think, what we have in the quad, right now, but six classrooms with bathrooms.
With bathrooms. What? What?
with bathrooms. And I can tell you that those of us that went and toured the modulars, I mean, you would just see our faces going and see it opening the bathroom doors. But just celebrating God's goodness in the bathrooms. But bathrooms, 6 classrooms that, Andy, you can make versatile. You can design the space however you need for your need. That's our goal, right? Is to serve you. And then the other part is like storage closet. So, modulars sometimes kind of on the outside, you can't really envision, they just look like modulars, right? But, if anybody Googles some of the schools that have modulars, you can really make those 6-plex, 8-plex, 10-plexes, beautiful. There are some schools you wouldn't even know that it's a modular that you're walking in. So Yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, if you have lower school students and they've never been to building number 4, which we affectionately call the quad is a 4 classroom unit without a bathroom. So students have to leave there and go either to the gym to use the restroom or to the junior high building to use the restroom. So that a modular building with bathrooms will be a welcomed addition to the school. So let me circle
And
back.
Andy, on the bathrooms, I mean, we're not talking about one women's stall and one men's stall. We're talking about multiple stalls. So the ones that I saw, the modular that I saw would actually be the nicest bathrooms on campus.
I would agree. So let's go. Okay, so I want to circle back. Rex, we started off this conversation and you had mentioned the church and a purchase. So I am sensitive to the fact that we have new families at Arborbrook. We haven't focused on that this year, the idea that we're purchasing from the church. We are a separate entity from Central Baptist Church. We rent from them. We've tried to be a very good partner with them. We've developed a great relationship, but we're at a place where we're trying to purchase a piece of property, and that may be new news to some of our families. People who have been around for a little while might be wondering, what's the update? Where are we? Where are we going from here? So can you speak to that for us?
Sure. There's a couple things to unpack there, Andy. So that's such a great question. When we talk about the purchase, the reason a purchase is necessary is that the town and the county require a purchase in order to build on, as would the bank. So we would need some sort of financing to help us get over the hurdle to make this work. And so the bank and the town are requiring at least an acre of land purchased that we would own. And the only way that we got there was we originally tried to do a ground lease, and the church was on board with that. All of that fell through. That wouldn't work. And because we went down the path of the ground lease, it made the next step of actually having to purchase the property an easier conversation with the church. So we did a lot of work around the ground lease. We held a meeting, an open dialogue meeting, and all of that was just led us to the point where we could approach the church being receptive. The church considers us part of their mission, an outreach of what they do, even though we're two separate entities. So we continue down that path. We're working with the church. We're very close to having the documents finalized. We've done a couple tweaks lately. Wonder Woman decided that that the spot that we had originally picked out might not be the best spot of all. And of course, when she explained it to me and it sunk into my thick head, I said, "You're absolutely right. Maybe we should adjust where the two hard structure buildings that we would permanently own would be." And so yeah, the first one kind of goes building 4 where the quad is, but the second one would be where the church office is now instead of where the junior high is. So we're making some of those tweaks, working through the last bit of documents. There's about 7 legal documents that we have to do, not one-page documents. I mean, these are some substantial documents that we worked with the church on. And so we've been going back and forth. There's always a little bit of stuff when you get to legal wording. And so we're trying to get that last few legal wording pieces sorted out. And I think we're really close. And my hope is that we can have it done in the next 30 days. I would say by the end of the month, but that might be a little aggressive, but I'm hoping that we can have it done in the next 30 days. And I've been corresponding with church leadership today on the documents. And so we're striving to get there, and we're leaning on the Lord.
Yeah. Just so that everybody does know, the church owns 13 acres of property, and We're purchasing one from them. We're trying to purchase one from them. And it's been an interesting process for sure. I've been had a front row seat on the journey. We've tried several things in the 4 years that I've been at Arbor Brook. We sought a different piece of property down the road. We sought a ground lease. Now we're at this place. We had COVID. There's been a lot of resistance in a lot of ways. We knock on certain doors and they don't open. So I'm very mindful that we're knocking on a door here for a short-term solution and a long-term solution. But in the short term, if this modular unit doesn't happen, if we can't get the Wesley Chapel to approve, I know the interest that we have from families who are trying to get into Arbor Brook. There has been, my admissions director, Jennifer Simon, is very busy all the time with interest. We have a lot of families who are interested in coming next year. And I want to be able to provide, classrooms for everyone. I'm trying to do my due diligence to make sure we don't make promises that we can't keep. But I'd love to just have the board speak to what happens if. What are we going to do if we don't actually get the modular unit, and what can we do for next year to make sure that we do have adequate space for our students?
Well, Andy, I'll take that one. We are actively putting a plan B in place. We've always said we're going to run parallel paths. We've got a great partner at the church, and they understand as well. They've joined in on the calls and the meetings with the town. So they know the process that we're following, and we're keeping them updated as we continue on. So, if for some reason, we can't get through Wesley Chapel, and just by the way, so everybody understands, we go to Wesley Chapel because we're in Wesley Chapel's jurisdiction. We get approval from Wesley Chapel Town, and then we have to go to the county, right, to get the permitting. But if for some reason it stalls and we can't do it, I'll tell you, I know God will provide a plan. I have seen him all over the last 4 years, open doors, and when it didn't feel right or when it wasn't going to work, another door would open for us to explore. And we've learned something every step of the way. I can remember, 2 years ago, Andy, you came to us with like this great plan of all of a sudden you figured out a little bit more space, and you were creative with your staff and team of thinking through that. So even though I don't have specifics, what I will say is we are not a team that just looks at one path. We are believing that God has plans for his school, that if a door is closing, we are trusting that God's going to open another one. And we're exploring, other options as we move on forward down the journey. So we'll keep everybody updated as we go through the process. We'll try to do more updates like this too, even as we go through the town process of approval, and we'll walk it together.
That's awesome. Rex, do you want to make any comments on that? Anything come to mind that Yolanda didn't share that you wanted to throw in?
How can I follow that?
I don't know. I really don't. So that's, you
I
can
got
say
nothing.
no, she said it all and she's good at it. So
I just lean on God.
About.
I lean on God. I've seen him time and time again, work it out. And I lean on God. And I've learned even through, I do this every day. I know Rex, this is our backgrounds, right? But even with what we know in our professions every day, we know that God is still in control, and he's going to continue to have that plan out for this school.
That's right.
So,
that's right. And I'll just add one sentence, and that is that providentially we decided to invest in some outdoor spaces this year. And so we have approval to build the first outdoor classroom. We have plans for a second. And so those spaces will be developed this spring and summer. And so those will be opportunities for us to bring students into an outdoor classroom setting that is another classroom for us at least. And so we can be very creative with what we do. There are other spaces, but we want to provide the best for the kids. And that's one thing that I know the board is always seeking, is what spaces are the best for our students. And so I'll leave it at that. And so I'll just end. Rex, did you want to say something before I ask my final question?
I did. I think that's a great point, Andy, is that we want what's best for the kids. And board as a whole is not one that focuses on one thing or another. We focus on it being God's school,
Yeah.
and it's in the best interest of God's school and God's children. And so I think that's really critical to point out, that is our focus and that is our mandate. Our mandate is to try to do what is best for God and his school.
Well said. Well said. With that, let me ask, is there anything else that either of you want to communicate to Arbor Brook families?
I would, again, I've been walking this journey for a couple of years now, and I could really feel at certain points along this journey the power of prayer. And I guess my ask would be of the Arbor Brook family is to be in prayer, and specific prayer about God's will for this process, because as much as we're going to try to put everything in place, we always want to point back to him and his plan for us. So I would just ask if everybody would just join us in prayer over the process. Pray for our partners that we're working with. I mean, we've got a great team through Myers Chapman, and I tell you, they're just diligent, and they've been walking through this process with us. And when we stopped, they didn't turn away. They would follow up. They would see how they could help us in different ways. And so pray for our partners. Pray for the church. Pray for the church body as a whole, the church leadership, those that are engaged in this process right now through the legal process. Pray for just the board as a whole as we continue to walk this journey. Even though we're a facilities committee, it really, for a project like this, it really takes the whole board. It really takes, everybody kind of pitching in and just supporting where they can. And then I would just ask, pray for each other. Pray for each other, because I know that in some of these places we get weary and we anxious and we want to know. And I've just tried to remind myself as I've come through carpool and I watch the kids come out just so happy to be in school, and happy to be together. And I see families just together, even if we're in our cars and we're not getting out and all that, pray for each other. So that's what I would ask, Andy, and I will be praying as well as we walk through the journey together.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you both, not just for this time to talk about this and share these details with our families, but thank you for your service to our school. As Rex loves to say, and it's so true, this is God's school and we're all just his servants. But I appreciate the support that you give to the school and how you serve. So Rex, I'm going to give you the last word as we end the call.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Andy. I just want to take a moment to let everybody know, to follow up on Yolanda's comments. Let's pray for Andy. He's been a special gift to us and to this school, and it is humbling on a regular basis to serve alongside him and try to support him. And so we ask for you to pray for him specifically as well, and the gift that I know as the board, we think he's been a special gift, an answer to prayer. And so we ask, as we pray for him, that you continue to pray for him as well, because he has been a treasure to us and hopefully to all of you as well. So I'll leave it at that.
I'm not really sure how to say anything after that. So thank you. That's humbling. And I do appreciate the prayers. Well, Arbor Brook, thanks for listening. We appreciate your time and your attention to all of this. God bless you. And we will see you soon.